Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. And yes, these little blooms just fell off and never opened. We need some rain, and it is in our forecast, so I'm hoping for it. Today is supposed to be our first pretty day, but it's still very hot. It's not 100, but it is in the 90s, and it's just hot. The wind blowing through you is still hot. It's not up terribly high though, so I'm thinking about not watering today, and I'm hoping that's not a mistake, because I don't think we'll have a chance of rain until tomorrow night. So that's a long time for it to go without water, longer than it's been going without water. So, but hopefully it'll make it. And I had a good day as far as getting out a little bit and doing some things. Not necessarily all day in the garden things. I actually got a baby gift for my third cousin, so I'm excited about her birth. We're getting into our fourth generation, and it's just kind of wonderful. And of course our generation goes back way farther than that, but I mean just of myself and my sisters and brothers. And of course this will be from my daddy's brother's family. I'm taking this one in too. This is a hibiscus, and I do still have my little yellow hibiscus, so I hope I can keep it through the winter, but just in case. And even though I tried to get my chartreuse rose going again from a little leftover seed, like what will be in the end of this one when it dries, even though it didn't work for me, I don't want to give up, because some of my seeds did sprout, and so I think it's worth trying again. And I'm okay with just one of these in my garden, but should something happen that it doesn't make it through the winter, or even when I bring them out, sometimes they don't make it to come back outside, so I would always like to have some way of getting another. And maybe this would be that way. These are some more little blooms that didn't amount to anything for me. This is a beautiful when it blooms and fills out. These bloomed and then just kind of died, or they're not crisp. They didn't exactly crisp up. Matter of fact, if we get rain, these could go ahead and open. However, this one will not. It's already beginning to dry up. I might save it for seed though, because these are the big beautiful Mission giant marigolds, and they are such a pretty marigold. And I love this little yellow zinnia. This is one of my favorite colors. I love all the colors, so I could never say I have a favorite. But if I should ever say that, this would probably be up at the top. So I would like to have a bunch of these seeds if possible. And another reason, because the yellow just blends in and makes all the other pretty colors blend together. And I've also noticed that I really love pink and yellow together, and I think God must love that together too, because I've noticed that He puts it together a lot of times in nature. We got a quarter of an inch of rain last night, and the weather is cool enough that you can kind of feel fall in the air. Not that it really feels like fall yet, but it does feel nice. This is the kind of weather I like, when it's practically perfect as far as temperatures and wind goes. And I wanted to show you this because if you remember, these had died out, and I said I doubted if they would make it. Well, you can see that they didn't. A lot of them did not make it. There is some with some green on it though, and I do need to trim a bunch of these old blooms off so that they can bloom again. I might put these over in this area and hope that they'll put me down some seed. But I'm going to actually get these and bring them inside and keep them in a paper bag or paper envelope and try them again next spring. And I still need to bring plants in. Here's one right here, this little chrysander plant. I need to bring it inside. And they're just all over. Right here beside it is my flowering maple abutilon. Oh look, though, it's put on a new little leaf right there. And so maybe it's nice that it got to have some of that rain and some of the nutrients in it before it comes inside. But yes, there's definitely many plants I need to bring in. This one right back here, that's where I put my little Esperanza that I started from a seed. It's very small, and then this little bare stem at the very top, it does have a little green, and this is a hibiscus. Of course, I forgot what color it is. It may be red, because I know that my yellow one did grow and bloom. It looked quite healthy, and it bloomed several beautiful blooms for me. But if this one's alive and I can keep it alive, it may do that next year. The little purple globe flowers are really looking nice today, and I got some more bloom on my variegated hibiscus, which is also another plant that needs to come inside. Right here beside it though, in this little pot, is a passion vine tassel flower. It is so gorgeous. I'm still hoping it'll have a chance to bloom. I would love to get to show it to you and to see it myself. It's such a beautiful bloom. And speaking of tassel flowers, I think I have already shown you, but let's go over here for a minute and see it again, because it is blooming pretty. But these look really like little tassels. Let's see if I can get close enough up. You can really see it more in detail without it blurring out, which that's kind of hard for me to do, but we'll give it a try. Now that the weather is cool a little bit and it got a good rain last night, it's really brightening up and looking good. This is, of course, another plant I'll need to take inside. This beautiful foxtail fern, or not fern, yes, fern, foxtail fern. And I actually got another little fern to live. It's not looking great, but it's definitely alive. I'll definitely want to take that inside and try to keep it too, as well as that pretty burgundy spike. I need to dig up my pineapple lilies, these right here, which didn't make a little pineapple looking bud that comes out from it and makes I wouldn't call it a flower, but it's a pretty and interesting little part of the pineapple lily. I'll need to take in my bougainvillea. Of course, I'll have to trim it down some to get it inside, but as long as we have the root, it'll have a chance to go again next year. I'm going to go right on over here because this is its bloom for this year. I was afraid it wasn't going to get a chance to bloom at all, but it did, and it's looking good. I know, I would love to have it just all flowered out there, but maybe someday I will. I'll be needing to dig up my elephant ears too. There's so much to do. I need to get off these old blooms so that they can bloom again, and so I can have these for seed. This little plant was so wilted down yesterday that I didn't know if it would come back up at all, but it's looking fairly good today. Look, these are some of my little Terinia that I started from a seed. This is one also, and it's not, let me see if I got it in the right, yeah. It's not nearly as big as these right here beside it. And this is one right here on the corner of this one. So if we have a long enough fall before the weather gets too cold, these could look good too. And more plants I'll need to bring inside. This one, these others, of course, they won't come inside. But definitely my little curly airplane plant will need to come inside. And the corn dracaena that's in the pot behind this little pot here, and it's not looking very good, but it's alive, and I definitely want to keep it that way if I can, so I'll bring it inside and see what will happen with it. I may go ahead and try to keep this little impatient in there too. I believe this is possibly one of the New Guinea impatiens. I'm not sure, but I know that one of those I kept inside last winter, and it came out and is still doing good today. I would like to try to keep one of these Kong coleus. This is a little start of one, but I do not know if I can do that. I've tried them before and I don't have any luck with it, but it is possible. I've read that you can do that. And speaking of hoping we have a long enough fall, I hope we have a long enough fall for some of this Mexican flame vine to bloom and have some more of the pretty orange blooms on it. And this is my little cactus that I snipped the top off, but it doesn't look like it killed it at all, and hopefully it'll look better as it gets bigger and gets more leaves and things on it, or I don't know if it'll put some out to the side, or if it just, so far it's just been going like straight up this one stalk. And so that's why I had to clip the top of it off to try to get a start for my sister, because I told her I would do that, and I definitely want her to have one. And then this little plant, this little dragon tree, Dracaena, has grown so much this season, and it looks so good. Definitely want to take that inside. Look at the beautiful blooms on this bougainvillea. So pretty. It'll come inside too. I've got to get busy, I know. And I'm going to save this little yellow double cosmos for seed if I can. There, it looks like a grasshopper has eaten some of it off of there, as well as most of its petals, but hopefully it'll have enough of the seed heads that I can save these. I have several cosmos, but most of them are the more golden orange, and this is a brighter yellow that I would like to have some of both, of course, but this one, since it's seeming to get less and less, I want to save some of it. After our little rain, I tried some clippings again. They're looking so good right now. I hope they keep it up and we have a long enough fall. They'll get to be gorgeous here. This is the prettiest this has looked since my little peachy pink salmon colored petunia gave it up. Matter of fact, everything is looking brighter because of the rain. Look at this peace lily my sister gave me for my birthday last year. It's blooming like crazy, but it needs to come inside. I've got to get busy. I keep saying that, but there's things I need to do first, but I've got to get it done. At this point, for the little houseplants, the sooner the better. I had determined I wouldn't get another one of these little North Fork pine trees because it just, all of mine just died. But oh look, there is life left in it. That doesn't mean it'll stay, I know, but I can't help but get a little bit excited about that. I stopped off at my friend Susie's house, and look at this color she has going here. Like, this is the pretty maroon hibiscus. This one is pink with a dark center. I have a lighter pink with a bright pink center, but it's not that like red, deep red. And then let's go around over here. Look at all this color. This is her of course, her tall phlox, and this is a crepe myrtle. Another crepe myrtle. It's looking good. It's looking really good. I have to take you around front too because she also has a white clematis in bloom. Oh, and I didn't want to miss this either. Look at this. It's still beautiful. It really filled out and looked great.
Have a real icy winter.
I hope they missed that one.
Yeah, that's what James.
I had to come out and show you this. This is Susie's Henry Clematis. It bloomed this season, and another one is going to bloom right here. Mine look terrible. Mine are all browned out. A few green leaves, but nothing like this. This looks so good. I am so extremely happy to see a change in the weather. Do you feel that way too? You know, I've heard people say about Oklahoma that we've stopped having 4 seasons and only have 2, summer and winter. Don't you wish it would be spring and fall? And I am so excited. I just want to do so much. I want to go visit my out-of-state daughter. I would like to visit my in-state stepchildren. I would like to see my granddaughter and her little boy, Max. Oh my goodness, I don't get to see them nearly enough. I don't get to see any of them nearly enough. But I know they're busy, and so am I. In the garden, it's hard to leave it, as you know, but I was excited to leave the garden. I was excited just to go shopping and get some of the things that I will need to put the garden away for the winter. I got a few more clay pots. I'm planning on putting some of my plants in them today and start bringing things inside. I purchased another little sedum on the sale rack, and it's small, but oh my goodness, they all, no matter how small they start, they always get the same size. Whatever size that they grow to, they'll all grow to that same size. As a matter of fact, I told that to Susie, and she said, well, okay, I'll take a little clipping off of that. So hopefully hers will build a root. And you know, they have more time than you think to build a root, because as long as the ground is not frozen, even if it comes a frost and freezes out the tops, they're still working on that little root until the ground gets frozen. So usually they do pretty well to start a root in the fall. And that's not to say they always do, because sometimes our fall comes in early October. It's happened many times. Look at this little sedum renewing itself. It was totally empty there in the center where the outside ones had fallen down and just left the center empty, but now it's filling back up again. And I know these will die back again for winter, but they'll be back next spring. They're putting that little root down, and it's going to be a good start for them, I'm thinking. I guess you can tell this did go ahead and die. I will put something else in this little pot. I'm not sure what. I got a couple of periwinkle, but I'm not sure that's what I'm going to put in this pot. But I will find something and spruce it up just for a little while, because I'm hoping we still have a little more. Actually, I'm hoping for a lot more of the beautiful fall weather to just come out and enjoy the garden. And look at this little plant. Now that just says fall all over it, doesn't it? And it is called a Henry Eilers Rebeckia. So we got a little over a ½ inch of rain, and that's so wonderful. And the cooler weather, oh, I can't begin to tell you. I don't think there are words. I am so ready always for fall, and it's certainly been no exception, even though we had wonderful spring rains all the way up until the second week of till after the second week of July, but then it sure went bad as far as hot, miserable on the gardener and the garden, very little rain, and it's been hard. But these are the kind of days you want to be outside. You don't mind it at all. It's just a joy and a pleasure to be out when the weather is nice. You're just grateful you have some place to be out in it. And I showed you my friend Susie's clematis. This is mine. Oh my goodness, they look terrible, but they do have some bloom. I'm so looking forward to things freshening up and hopefully beginning to look great in the garden. Look at this little three-tiered pot now. It's beginning to fill out a bit, enough to draw your attention over to those pretty flowers. And of course, this is one of the sedums. This is my Autumn Joy sedum, and the one I got is called Autumn Fire, so it probably will be even darker. It showed the picture, it showed like bright red, which I kind of doubt if it's quite that red, but still it should be a beauty. This one I think is beautiful, and that's not to mention how they draw the butterflies and all the pollinators to the garden. Look at this little pot. It's definitely refreshing itself, coming out to enjoy the weather. All these beautiful double petunias. And that's also a geranium in there with them. This is like the ones our pastor's wife got to put at our church, which look great. And they suffered a little bit during that heat spell too, but they're looking good. And these are starting to, and I had told you that I thought I would put sedum in this little pot, even actually put a little piece there. But I'm going to go back to thinking I'll keep double impatiens in this little pot. They'll have a time when they go through that hottest part of summer that I call the dog days this time, and looked it up and even learned a little bit more about that term. But I think definitely I'm going to go with these petunias, even if they do have that little time when they're all ratty and ugly looking. At least it goes away in the happy, wonderful time when they bloom and just renew themselves and go again. I knew they would if they had a chance. And look at this. I've got to get out here and get these off because I definitely want them for seed. This is a little, of course it's just a zinnia, but I love zinnias, and this is a really pretty color and a really pretty, it's bright and draws your attention to it, and I just love it. It's perfect for pots because it does not get very tall, and yet it has a big bloom as if it were on a big tall stalk. And I see that some of my mums are beginning to bloom. But when I finally put the camera down and get busy, I want to bring in some houseplants today and get them ready to come inside. I will make a row of them somewhere, probably in the front, and then I will spray them good with insecticide. The first year I've told you I did not do that, and I had an army of roly-polies and a few snails running around in my living room. That was bad. So I don't make that mistake again, hopefully. This little dragon tree, of course, is one of the plants I want to bring inside. And it's also one of the ones I want to put in one of the clay pots. I have several plants that I keep in the clay pots. I'm trying to get all of my house plants in clay pots because I think they do better when you bring them inside, and they don't just drown because that water seeps right through the clay. I miss not getting to have this pretty bloom out very much. It's looking great now. Of course, why wouldn't it wait until now to bloom? Don't we wait until now to enjoy the garden ourselves? That heat is just too much. And I actually still want to get some little coleus clippings and fill up some bare spots. I know they won't have long to live before a frost, no matter how soon or how late it comes. It just won't be long enough. But I still want to fill out the bare areas so that when I'm out here enjoying the weather, I can truly enjoy the garden. And did I show you that this little pot is really filling out now too? It just needed cooler weather so it could really make a showing. And I'm hoping these redhead coleuses will come up in the back here a little taller and look good too. I may actually trim down these color Saurus coleuses just so you can see the ones in the back, and then hopefully they will still grow bigger too. But I may not, simply because they look so good. It's going to be hard for me to go ahead and trim them down. And I'm a bit reluctant to take this one in, although I will not leave it out here unless it's just an accident, which I hope does not happen. But this little plant practically died, and this one, I don't know if you remember when I visited Ronnie's niece's garden, but this one had fallen off of one of hers, and she gave me a little start. It was probably about this size right here, and it almost died inside, so that's why I'm reluctant to take it in. But I put it back out, and it has done so well that I've gone ahead and took a little piece of it off and put it over here on this side. But it's looking good, and I hope it'll stay alive and even do better inside. And even though I did not get a lot of seed when I started them later in the season, but I just felt like I had the time to do it then, or the urge to do it then. But I was encouraged because I think I'm going to go ahead now and clip some of these off just to save them, just in case, because if you ever can't find one, you can start one from a seed. And I know I'm not good at starting them, but you know, these are those little ones that I started from a seed, the little small ones here, and they may still even bloom. Wouldn't that be great if I came out here and showed you some pink Torrenia that I started from a seed? And I will try to go ahead and get this one too when it falls off, and save it in case I'm ever without a red annual hibiscus, because I love these. I love the perennial ones because of course they come back every year and stay in the garden and look great. Well, unless something happens to them. You know, I lost mine to my huge Lord Baltimore hibiscus was taken down by a blanket flower. I could not believe it. I didn't go looking for it because I was sure that it was going to come right up in with that blanket flower, because it's so much smaller than a Lord Baltimore hibiscus. But the Lord Baltimore hibiscus gets started later. It takes them a while to get started in the spring, and that little blanket flower took off and went and choked it out. Look, I forgot what I had in here, but it died out, and so I put a little coleus in here, and it is doing so good right now. I didn't know for sure if it would, planting it in there that late, but it has just done wondrously, as is this one above it here. And this one is this one I've had here since spring. Look, some of my Major Wheeler honeysuckle came out to enjoy the weather with us too. And I'm thinking it looks like there may be some seed on this little hummingbird mint. So I am going to try to shake those off into an envelope, and maybe they will. This one came up from seed that I just sprinkled in there, and I had no idea that it would, because the one I had in here didn't come back, and I don't see why it wouldn't have dropped seed in here, but it was orange. So this is a different one. But they're both beautiful, and especially when it gets big enough to really fill this out, it looks so good. The bumblebees are still around. This is my new little autumn fire plant, and I'm going to put it right back here and hope that it will do well there. And as I was thinking about them, I'm wondering if maybe this one, I may have an autumn fire. I was thinking this was the autumn joy also, but it seems like it's pretty bright, so this may be another one, but that's okay too. I would not have got it if I would have known for sure, simply because you can always take off a little panicle of these and get it started and have a whole new plant. And that's what I would have done. But in that I already have this plant, and also I'm not sure, this may be a darker still little plant, so I'm going to plant it and see what will happen. One thing I hope does not happen is that a mole or vole or gopher gets it, because I do have a mole or vole tunnel right here where this knife is, this garden knife, and I did put some mole poison there. So there we go. And I want to move this plant. It's called an ironweed, and it does bring the butterflies, but I put it too close out here and it falls over, and it's just taller than I want here at the front. So I'm gonna, if I can, I love to do this type of stuff in the fall, simply because spring is so busy with cleaning out all the old dead stuff from the garden and replanting, getting it going again. So I'm going to see if I can, maybe, if I have time, pull some of this up and find a different spot for some of it. And also, since we did get a little bit of rain, the ground is softer, and even better still, if I transplant this into another area, we're supposed to get rain again maybe tomorrow, so that will be a great situation if I can get that done. Gardens are so beautiful, and yet such a horrendous dirty job. What a mess to clean them out. And I did not get all the root out. I'm going to have to spray this with some root kill either this fall or next spring, or maybe even both. But I'm glad I got that out of there. And honestly, I was planning on putting it someplace else, but if I do put it someplace else, it will be in a pot, because I can tell those roots are going to get invasive. They've been there for quite a while without getting too invasive. They just built me a little spot where they had pretty purple color, but I don't want to deal with so many invasive plants, and I think that's what this was fastly becoming. And I am so totally loving this little woody salvia. I wish it would just grow, wide and tall and beautiful, but of course it won't this time. In just a few short weeks, fall will be gone and give way to winter, where all this will be gone. And because this will die down to the root and come back again next spring, hopefully, I am going to go ahead and take some of this and put it in rooting powder and try to get it started somewhere else. It may not work, but if it doesn't, it will die, which is the top part of it is going to do that anyway, and I will still have my root to come back. So I'm going to get at least a small portion of this and try it somewhere else, so I'll have 2 chances of having it come back in the spring. Now, to find a pot where I might want some of that ironweed. In this little pot, I pretty much decided to take it out of that pot and put it in the ground. I can't quite remember why I put it in the pot in the first place. It does come up a little bit taller, and sometimes that can be pretty to have them just a little staggered in height. But I think I'll probably put this in the ground because it just gets so ready. It needs more moisture, and they don't stay long enough in the pots. It could look like this, so I think I may just go ahead and do that next year. So I could use this pot, but I think I'll wait until the spring to take it out of this pot, so it'll have a good chance of actually living through the winter even in the pot. So I guess that one's out. This little pot just might be the one I need to put some in there. It won't do much this year, but that's fine. But all I have in here is some verbascum and some coleus. So it would be great to have something that will just come back in each spring. So possibly I may put it here, just a little bit of it, and I think it'll go ahead and fill the whole pot up. Okay, you can barely tell I did anything, but I put this little one right here in there, this one, and this one right here. So I'm thinking that this could fill this little pot out, and I always wonder, well, what am I going to put in there anyway? And it'll be great to have a perennial that'll come back in this one. If it will work there, we'll see. And I went with this little pot. I decided the same thing about it, so I put 3 little stalks of it in this pot, and they'll just work on their root this fall, and then hopefully they'll come up and begin to shine next spring, and I won't have to put anything in this plant maybe. And even if I do have to put something in there with them for a year or 2 until they fill out, that will be fine. I liked this little geranium. It hasn't done much. Actually, I'm hoping it will go ahead and bloom again now that the weather is nicer. This little pot looked scraggly and like nothing at all for so long, but now it's coming into its own and filling out with all these little, this is of course a periwinkle, and then it has coleus, and then the big Kong coleus. It's not so scraggly anymore. But those 6 little plants are all I want of this ironweed plant. The rest of this is going to our ravine that we use to dump our debris in. I dug up and saved these little iris, and I dug the rest of them up around there too. I'm going to just throw some of them away. They need to be thinned. And so now I'm going to go ahead and spray this. I did decide to spray it now, and I still may have to do it again in the spring. But what I'm hoping is I'll get rid of it now and go ahead and replant those iris and let them spend the winter in the ground right here. So I also gathered up some of my orange and yellow orange zinnias and I just put them together. They were the ones that needed clipping off most. You can tell the yellow ones do too, and everything else. But I'm just doing those for today so I can get back to the job I actually started. I spruced up my little dragon tree a bit, and you can tell it's raising its little root up out of this pot anyway, so it needs to be transplanted. And I'm going to put it into this bigger clay pot and bring it inside. Also, I wanted to show you this. Look, this is a lemon tree. My husband's sister-in-law showed us hers, and it was just so exciting to see a lemon growing on a little house plant. But I thought these were, the ones I had looked at were pretty expensive, and I didn't know if I could make it live. If I thought I could keep it, that would be another story. I would definitely want it for sure, but this one was on sale, and I thought, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. So, isn't it pretty? And I like to use a little bit of this cocoa liner just to put over that hole so that your dirt doesn't fall out, and that, of course, the water will go right on down through it. And then I mix up just potting soil for inside, indoor and outdoor is what this one is. And then and I put some perlite in that too, because you want something that will help it to drain easily. That's what most plants seem to die of, is not getting good drainage and their root being too damp too long. So I have them this ready to go inside, along with my little crocender plant. But I'm not in any big hurry to get them in. We're supposed to get another rain maybe tomorrow. They may be out here for that rain. I'm not sure how I'll do it yet, but it feels good to have it this far. And I was also going to say, if you can catch your local garden centers when they're getting ready to put up Christmas decor and they need all that space, you can find some good buys on some of your favorite house plants and even your perennial garden plants. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.